So I first got into martial arts mainly when I was at university at Sheffield. So I was quite a chubby kid at this point, and I was very self-conscious of my weight back then. And just one of the days I woke up and I was like, right, I want to do something about this. I want to lose the weight. So I started going to the gym at Sheffield University. Lost a little bit, but not an awful lot. But you got access to free classes. Okay. So I started going to the kickboxing classes. Now at this point, I'd started watching a bit of the K1.
Was it K1 Max? Or?
Yeah, the K1 Max. So like Peter Hurts, Andy Hug, you know, these type of guys, Crow Cop especially. So I was watching these guys on YouTube because the fights had already been out a long time back then. So I was watching those guys on YouTube. So I thought, right, I'll try this kickboxing class. Like, I'm quite interested in it. We'll give it a go. So I went to the class, and I felt useless. But the coach down there at the time said, "Oh, like you've got a little bit of promise. You know, you should probably come down to my actual gym." So I took him up on the offer, and I come down to the gym, and that's actually where I met yourself. And like Ant Stuckbury and stuff like that.
How old were you then? You must have been like 18. Like.
Yeah, I think 18, like my first year of university, mate. Yeah, so like probably 18.
But I remember that you were quite serious about it. You wanted to learn, you know.
Yeah.
You weren't just there just for the hell of it. So you that was in Sheffield. So you started doing kickboxing then, and then you kind of went back home, didn't you? And all of a sudden, you just. Your level just elevated. So tell me a little bit about that. Tell me a little bit about the kickboxing journey in terms of your career and your fighting side.
Yeah, so went back home. Mainly dropped out of university. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. When I went back home, I started training with one of my good friends who still trains with me now, Chad Mitchell. Yeah. We just went and trained each other. So we were watching YouTube, watching these fights. Like I said, I was still mad on the K1, like loved watching the old fights. So watching that and then like try to do the stuff they do on pads with Chad, like we'd try and mimic it. And I started wanting to fight. And I didn't know of any gyms back then in that area, but Chad went to a little MMA gym. So I went there and then it literally closed down the week that I signed up. It shut down, mate. Yeah, so we had nowhere to train. And then we got recommended from our previous coach. We got recommended to go down to a gym in Wakefield, down Holby Bridge. So the both of us, we said like, right, look, let's try it. We need a coach. Let's go there.
And that was a kickboxing.
Yeah, that was a kickboxing gym. Yeah, so we went there, and then I stayed there probably for the best part of 7 years at that point. And when I went there, there was a bit more structure in the training. Obviously, to us two just padding each other, and we could actually learn stuff. You know, learn techniques. You know, from a proper coach, fine tune us a little bit. Yes. And then that's when I really got into it. Then that's when I was like, right, yeah, I want to be fighting. I want to fight regular. Yeah. You know, I loved it. Very passionate about it. And it just kind of like spiraled from there, really.
So is that when you started to fight on a regular basis? Because I remember, I think what might have been your first kickboxing title fight that you won. Is it ISKA one?
Yeah.
Do you know how many fights you had before the title fight? So just another question would be, how many amateur fights have you had in total, if you could remember?
Yeah, I actually can't remember. I was literally thinking this on the drive over, actually. I think off the top of my head, it might be like, it's got to be somewhere between 15 and 20 in total across everything, with the amateur kickboxing. And I think when I had my first amateur title fight, I think I'd had 4 or 5, probably 5. I think I'd had 5 amateur fights up to that stage, yeah.
So you had around 15 amateur fights, and do you remember how you felt when you first made that transition into professional kickboxing?
Yeah, I was always really nervous to go professional, to be fair. Like, when I was training as an amateur, I had no ambition of it becoming a professional thing. Okay. I just did it because I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Keep you grounded. And
Yeah, and just give me just like, I think like every young man needs like some form of athletic competitive training. Like once I got into it, I think it done so much for me as a human being, as well as obviously for my health and giving me structure to my life. I just think it's really important for men especially to be doing these kind of activities, you know.
Having passion. You're not just like waking up every day kind of lost, you know, not knowing what to do. Yeah. So you were nervous. Was it the fact that you had to take the shin pads off, or was it just you thought, I'm going to be fighting at high level, so I got to start taking it even more serious now?
Probably a bit of both. Yeah. Like the gym I was training at, nobody had fought professional out of there.
Okay.
So the thought of fighting professional was quite daunting because I'd have to be the first one to do it, and I had nobody really to speak to kind of like
pressures on you as well.
Yeah, to kind of like help me out and say like, look, this is what it's going to be like. You know, you're going to be fine or anything like that. It always made me feel like I'm here and professional fighting's up here, and there's this big gap to breach.
Yes.
That's how I felt. But then I started training at AVT, and they have a lot of professionals. Yeah. So once I started training at AVT, I split my time between the two gyms. I started to rub shoulders and train with these professionals, and like do fine with them in sparring and doing the drills. I started to think, oh, I'm actually all right. And they were like, Bearshin's nothing, like you'll be fine. You know, you've kickboxed for how long now? Like you'll be well conditioned to it.
So you had your first professional kickboxing fight under AVT?
Yes.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. So they do have a kickboxing team, or was it just a case of if somebody wants kickboxing, they'll kind of put them in there?
Yeah, it was a bit of both. At the time, it was David Sa was kind of manning the kickboxing side of the gym back then. So like, I went under him to do my kickboxing. But yeah, AVT, I think always the guys there are pretty game to do any kind of form of fighting. So if a fight came available and they had somebody for it, they'd just go for it. Two pro kickboxing.
What made you want to make the transition into MMA? Because it's a scary thought, isn't it, as a kickboxer? Now you have to worry about takedowns, you have to worry about all the other aspects of the game, and it seems like you have to juggle multiple things at the same time. Yeah,
definitely. I think what made me want to do it was just like, by this stage now, I was mad watching UFC. Like I say, I watched the K1 stuff to begin with, and then that moved into the, obviously Crow Cop fighting in Pride, and then UFC. Kind of followed his career a little bit. So it got me more interested in that side of the sport. And then obviously training at AVT, although I was training the striking stuff with those guys as well, I was actually going to the jiu-jitsu classes and doing the MMA sparring sessions. So I'd started to get a bit of experience with it. And I actually had a really bad injury at AVT, dislocated my elbow really nasty. So that's actually why I went to pro kickboxing, because I was just going to go from amateur kickboxing to amateur MMA.
Right, okay.
And just work up the MMA scene. But that injury prevented me from being able to grapple for a bit, so I went back to just pure striking. So that's where I was like, right, I need something, like again we said, I need something to keep me grounded, keep me when I wake up on a morning, and give me something that excites me. So moving to professional kickboxing gave me that while I was kind of navigating that injury. And yeah, just had the two pro kickboxing fights. Yeah, so I was actually, you might know the guy, I was actually scheduled to fight Rene Gajos.
Okay.
So how this fight came about, so I was supposed to fight Rene, and everyone was saying like, oh, he's an aggressive fighter, it'll be a good fight, and all this. So I was like, yeah, sound, I'll fight him. Like at this point now, like I don't get nervous, obviously still get nerves, but no way, like we're agreeing to fight like we do it all the time, do you know what I mean? Like I've done years of training by this point, so the nerves are less of a factor. So I was up for the scrap, and then it got to 2 weeks out, and the promoter messaged me and says, look, like, basically he shit his pants, he's pulled out the fight.
I've got someone else that's a bit more game.
So he says, but we could get you to fight Tommy's up for doing the fight. Obviously it'd be a short notice change for you, and fighting a much higher level opponent, because I think at the time Tommy was ranked like 5 or 6 in the UK at our weight class. But again, I just spoke to David about it, and we were both like, yeah, sound, let's just do it. Like, I just want to keep the fight, especially because it was going to fight on Muay Thai Grand Prix, which was like a step up in the calibre of show as well. So I didn't want to like lose that opportunity. So yeah, we took the fight, and yeah, man, it went really well, all things considered. So a bit of a war, to be honest, mate. I felt like it was one-way traffic for me. I hurt him early in round one.
Body kick, wasn't it?
Yeah, I got him with a cross to the body early on, and then I hurt him with a body kick, I think, and then followed up with some punches. He went down again. So I think I put him down twice in the first round, and the second time he went down, you know when someone just looks defeated, as he were getting up he looked broken, and then my coach was telling me like, okay, calm down now, take your time, because it was a pretty manic fight up to this point, and I was thinking like, absolutely no way, like I've nearly got him out of there in round one, and I thought he's a really good fighter, I respect him. So if I can get him out of there before he can show his skills, perfect.
Even better win for you.
Yeah, so I come throwing the kitchen sink at him, which was definitely a mistake, because I threw a knee, just how they tell you not to throw a knee with both my hands down by my waist, and he threw a big overhand as I throw the knee, and he caught me square on the jaw.
Lesson
he sat me down. I can remember getting up, it was the first time I'd been properly dropped. I can remember standing up, and it was just mad, because like, I felt like I was all there in my head, but it's like my body wasn't listening.
Yes.
So I was trying to walk to the neutral corner. I was laughing at myself that I'd even got in this situation, and like the legs were like spaghetti.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, what is going on? Because it felt so weird, proper surreal.
Was that the first time you got dropped?
That was the first time I've been dropped. Yeah. It was a mad experience.
After doing so well. As well.
I know. Yeah. I thought in my head I was thinking I've probably thrown this fight now. He's probably going to beat me.
So you got up. Did that round finish and then you come back for the third?
Yeah. So I survived the rest of that round on wobbly legs, and then round 2 come out and my cobwebs were cleared straight away. I was back in there, and I think I dropped him another 2 times. Then in the second round, finished off with a big head kick, which rocked him through his guard, but then followed up with another body shot. So I'd really pounded his body to this point.
That's straight left to the body again?
Yeah.
Because I think that's one of your favourite techniques, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I've had a lot of success with that punch, yeah.
Yeah, because I've seen you drill it quite a bit in training, and I know like you use it quite a bit in the fights as well. So let's move on to the MMA scene now as well. So let's talk about your first MMA fight. How did that go, and how did you feel in terms of your nerves and your mental state?
So my first MMA fight as an amateur, or
let's fast forward to the pros.
To the pros, yeah, sound. So yeah, my first one as a pro was actually a mad one because it was during COVID, so there was no crowd. It's the first time I ever fought without a crowd being there.
That's a bit weird.
Weird. So back when you first start, that's a dream to turn up to a fight and have nobody there, like no
especially
pressure.
A family member.
Yeah, you'd think like it's ideal because I remember being an amateur kickboxer early days. I was always up for doing the fight, but I was so nervous about the walkout and like having people there. It's like a nightmare, innit? So by this stage, it's the other way around. Like I wanted a crowd there because like feed off the energy and that. So yeah, it was a bit of a surreal experience, but also quite relaxed as well, I'd say. So it was on Cage Steel, one of their lockdown shows that they put on, just at some mad warehouse in Sheffield. Yeah. Just near Meadowhall somewhere.
I remember that one.
Yeah. And it was good. I was very nervous, just because of the expectations I'd put on myself. You know, I wanted, like, I was seeing it as right. When you do amateur fights, everyone's like, it don't matter if you lose because it's all experience. You're building your CV for when you do turn professional. You know, like, don't worry about the losses. Whereas once you turn pro, it's like, right, now you need to be like performing every time almost. Really, you can't have the bad performances if you want to get somewhere. Yeah. So I felt the pressure on myself for those reasons. But the fight went really well, man.
Would you say that you're the type of guy that performs better under pressure, or is it one of those that it doesn't really matter? As soon as that bell goes, you just kind of turn up and fight? Yeah,
I think I'm pretty good, especially like saying that the amateur experience. I think I used to probably find the pressure quite daunting, and it'd make me play it safe. Like I wouldn't go looking for finishes. Right. You know, if I knew I was up on the scorecards, I was quite happy.
But that's also the kind of experience you take with you, isn't it? Now you know yourself a bit more. You're gaining more confidence, and you know you could actually finish fights as well. Yeah. Again, going back to just throw yourself in there as an amateur, it doesn't really matter, does it?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. You're right. So I think that experience has helped. So now I think like, regardless of the situation, the opponent, whatever, I'm just game to do it, and I'll go in there and give it my all every time, regardless of the crowd, the venue, whatever it is, you know, the matchup, we just go for it.
So you obviously won that fight, because you're on 8-fight win streak, right?
5-0 now. 5-0,
okay.
5-0 as a pro, yeah.
So your last fight, let's fast forward to that one. That was your first fight in Cage Warriors, was it?
The one before, yeah, the Belfast one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what was the experience like fighting a Cage Warriors?
Yeah, it was like, up to that stage I was 4-0, was I by then? Yeah, I think 4-0, or 3-0, I can't remember now. Yeah, 3-0 up to that point. Yeah. I was finding it hard to find good calibre of opposition at the amateur, on the regional scene. So like I wanted to get that step up, and I'm also very aware that like, I think at the time I was 29 or 30, and I'm like, I've started professional MMA quite late in terms of age. So it's not that I can't have a good career in it, but like it needs to happen now, like today. I need to be making the progress.
Sense of urgency, yeah.
Yeah,
so want to get shit done.
So I was quite happy to jump up to a higher caliber show and fight higher caliber people as quick as possible. Yes. Do you know, when it's like sink or swim? So yeah, fighting on Cage Warriors, it again nerve wracking just because I wanted to impress. I was like, this is my opportunity now. Do you know, like everyone knows it's a road to UFC, and just even getting to Cage Warriors in itself is a big achievement. You know, getting the yellow gloves on and stuff. Like it's got a lot of history as the show, and a lot of credibility. Yeah, definitely, because it, like I say again, just like feeling like your career hangs in the balance a little bit. Like I say, just because I'm on a time constraint that I need to achieve as much as possible, as quick as possible. It'd be different if I was like 24, 25. I could be a bit more chilled, I think. So yeah, definitely nervous, but mate, when I got there, I couldn't wipe the smile off my face, because it was like a mad experience to see a show run so well as well, like theirs, and how professional it is, backstage and everything.
You felt like you belonged there.
Yeah, and it's like nothing I've ever been on before, up to that stage. So it was like just a massive sense of achievement. I'm thinking like, yeah, right, okay, we're here now, and just like really soaking that in. I just felt very happy the whole time we were there, and it was the first time I've fought abroad. I know it was only Belfast, but start to get on a plane and get over there, and that was like a cool experience.
Well, the next one is in Rome, which is going to be even more interesting.
Yeah, man, yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about that one. Let's talk about your opponent, how you feeling, and we'll get into your training a little bit for this fight. Because I know you made a move now to ASW in Manchester, so we'll talk about that as well. So let's focus on your next opponent, Michael. I don't know how to say his second name. So
I think it's Pagani. Yeah,
Pagani.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He's an Italian dude, right?
Yeah. So he's undefeated, 6-0. A dangerous opponent, like everybody is at this level. Do you know, everyone's got the things they're good at. He's more of a striker, which is nice. So I think that we match up very well together. He's undefeated. I'm undefeated. He's got 5 finishes, 1 decision win, and I'm 5 finishes. So I think
sounds like the perfect matchup.
It sounds like a fan friendly fight, for sure. But yeah, he does a lot of things well, but also, like any opponent, he's definitely got holes in his game that I'll intend to exploit. And you know, I always back myself. These days, man, it's like, I know, like we were speaking before about the finding that I can finish everybody now, and I fully believe that at any level.
Going into that fight, looking for the finish.
Yeah, man. I don't see my style being anything different ever now. I think with the power I possess and the fight IQ, I find the openings, and once I see that shot, it's like a kill shot. Do you know what I mean? I only need one, and it's job done.
I mean, I've seen the high kicks.
Yeah, especially the high kicks.
You're taking that from Croke up all those years of writing things down on your notepad.
Yeah, man, definitely a big inspiration for that, for sure, man.
So you're feeling good about this fight. Tell me a little bit about your training. Is there anything that you've done differently?
So recent changes. I've been at ASW. I don't even know time-wise. It might be coming in on 2 years, maybe over that. Just purely because I knew, obviously I'm coming from a striking background.
Yes.
The main area that we always need to improve is the wrestling and the grappling. And there's nowhere in the UK, in my opinion, that's better at that than their gym under Kamata Kuru. I think he's the best, and also not only got the best mat in terms of the quality of students and bodies to train with in that area, but also his calibre of coaching. Just straight away, the first session I had there, I was like the fine details and the way that he articulates it. It was like he'd show me it once or twice, and I was like, I could do it already, and I was like, how am I even doing that?
That's what makes a good coach.
Yeah, so I just think his coaching's fantastic. So I knew straight away after the first session, I thought I need to get here as much as I can. Now it's a hell of a drive on the M62 because it's a nightmare of a motorway, but I do that trip 3 times a week. To get a couple of hours on the mat over there each day.
Is that the evening training? Because I know, obviously, we'll get into it as well. You're running your own academy as well, Powerhouse. Do I get credit for just suggesting that name?
Yeah, of course, mate. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I mean, it's a great name. It's amazing, and I feel like you just seemed like a very dedicated type of guy and organised. Because to get to Manchester from Wakefield 3 times a week just to train, and then having to run your own business as well as being the head coach, and obviously have your own fighters to look after as well. It sounds like a lot of work. But before I get into my next questions, I just want to congratulate you on your partner being pregnant. And
cheers, man.
Yeah, how does that feel, like becoming a dad?
Mate, it's amazing.
I see that smile on your face.
Mate, it's amazing. I've always wanted to have a family. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like from being young, I wanted to have a family. So to finally kind of like be on that journey, on that path where it's happening for me, is amazing. And Ellie's an amazing partner. I couldn't be having a family with anybody better.
Yes.
And she's going to be an amazing mother. So yeah, man, I'm just overwhelmingly happy about it all. You know, I think a lot of people get scared. There's definitely some nerves, like money and things like that, but I think everybody feels that way. But more than anything, I'm just excited, like to meet him, you know, and watch him grow and try and be the best dad that I can, really, mate. Yeah.
Do you feel like you might not know that now yet until he's born, but do you feel like your motivation or your goals are almost changing a little bit, or do you feel like your priorities is like reshuffling almost?
Yeah, to be honest, mate, yeah, I'd say that happened as soon as we knew that she was pregnant. I was like we had conversations about my career and everything, mate. Like, because like I need to be pulling in more money to the family to be able to raise a child and provide. Because I've always took a hit on my income in order to be able to train. As you'll know yourself, like training costs money and time, and when you try to run a gym and that's the way that you earn money, obviously you need to be getting PTs, people through the door. These are all time consuming things, whether it's promoting yourself on social media, following up inquiries, all this stuff takes time out of your day. And then when you're training so hard all the time, the hours of your day get more and more limited. But then on top of that, trying to maintain a healthy relationship and give your partner the time that they need as well, and then friendships, all this stuff, you know, you're balancing all these plates. It's tough, man. So we sat down and spoke about it and said, look, like, if I've got X amount of years to really make this work, and if it doesn't, then we need to be looking at me just coaching full time, really. Yes. You know, and we've had that conversation, and thankfully, like I say, it gave me the extra motivation for the fights, because I'm like, right, I don't want to have to get a normal job. You know, I'm good at coaching, yes. I'm good at fighting, and I feel like I deserve to get paid a wage that can support a family for doing it. But I've got to prove that to everybody else as well, as myself. So I'd say, yeah, it's definitely given me an extra edge when it comes to motivation, because like this Italian lad ain't taking that from me. Like I'm 100% going there and I'm going to smash his face in, you know, because
now you have somebody else to think about.
Yeah, I want to give my son the best life possible and Ellie the best life possible, and this is my best route to be able to do that.
What is the ultimate goal in terms of your fighting career?
Yeah, so I'd say the ultimate goal 100% is to be a contender in the UFC, man. I watch a lot of UFC fights as everybody else does, and like I watch the lightweight division like a hawk, because obviously that's the division I'll step into, and it's one of the most competitive.
You're in a brawl division.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough, and you know the standard's really high. But when I watch the guys fighting in that division, I know I belong there, and that I can make a real dent on that. And you know, I think for my academy and for like my personal gain, you know, that's definitely the goal. That's where I want to be. I want to be on the UFC, but not just to make the numbers up. Do you know what I mean? I want to be there, and I want to be moving up those rankings, getting good fights, fighting high caliber people. 100%. I think I'm in the best position to do that as well, because my style's fan friendly. Like none of my professional fights up to date, and for a long time, you know, even my amateur ones, you know, they're all exciting. They're all finishes. Yes. I don't think I've gone the distance across all disciplines for like nearly 20 fights now. Wow. I'll be finished. It was my last few amateur kickboxing fights were finishes. Then when I moved into amateur MMA, they're all finishes. My 2 pro kickboxing fights, finishes, and then all of my pro MMA ones, all finishes.
That must give you an immense amount of confidence, like going into your next fight.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. That's what I was saying before. Like I believe I can stop anybody. That's like why I think I can do so well at that high level in the UFC. Yeah, there might be guys out there who can maybe grind a win out against me or something. Do you know what I mean? But I think for the most part, it's like they've only got to make one mistake, and it's done. Yeah. Do you know? So, and I fully believe that, and that gives me an immense amount of confidence going in any fight, because I feel like I could fight anybody, and I've still got that ability to pull a win out the bag with a finish as well. You know, something impressive for people to watch.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great position to be in mentally, going into any fight, knowing that you could finish anybody, and actually 100% believe that, because your record shows that. So, in terms of your coaching as well, I'm interested in knowing how you balance all of that. So what does a typical day for James Power looks like?
So I think balance is like, it's impossible, isn't it? Like you can't balance, so something has to give. So sometimes I feel like I'm coaching at a super high level and I'm putting my all into it, and then other times I'm definitely holding back. I'm probably not giving my students all of myself, because you know, my mind's elsewhere, whether it's on with my family, I've got stuff going on there, or for my own personal, like my fighting, you know, like my mind's more on myself. Like,
it's a selfish game, isn't it?
It is, unfortunately, mate. Like you say, you know how much it takes to fight professionally, as you've done yourself, you know, and had such a good career for yourself on the regional. Mate, while we're on that though, I think you're doing a phenomenal job with your gym, mate, and the guys are really coming on, and you can see the time that you put into them with how quickly they've all progressed from like because I've seen some of them when they first walked in your gym. I think not long after you opened.
Oh, yes.
I come over, so I've seen the guys.
I mean, that gave them they were like, oh shit, James is coming to train with us. So like that, I appreciate you coming over.
Oh yeah, mate, it was great, and great to meet them all. Amazing lads, and I think Abu especially is Abu, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. He's gone so far. He's having his second pro fight, and he's already signed to Muay Thai Grand Prix. His last fight, he was headlining the show, so it's quite mad.
He's doing so well, mate, and you can see the time that you've put into him. Because, like I say, I seen. Like he was already a good standard, but obviously just not been training that long when I first come down to your gym, and to see him now, even on the little clips of him training, when I see it on your stories and stuff, like to see how technical he is now, and the form on his techniques and the pace he's able to train at and stuff like that, as well as his fighting ability. You can tell you've put a lot of time and effort into him, man.
I appreciate that, man. And he'll appreciate hearing that as well. As you would know yourself, you have some kids that walk in the gym and you just like, you're not worried about them. There's actual fighters. Like if shit hits the fan, they could handle themselves. So he's one of those kids. And the other thing as well, he's very like he's the ideal student, so anything I tell him he just does it. Is that trust with a coach that's very important. So typical day. So you wake up. So
rein it back. Went on a bit of a tangent then. So typical day, mate. I wake up most days at 5. Well, Monday to Saturday I wake up at 5 a.m. I have my first PT up at the gym at 6, so I do one-to-one coaching from 6 till around 9 a.m. most days, and then I'll set off to Manchester, go over there, train for an hour and a half to 2 hours depending on the session, drive back. I'll pop in to see the missus because she works from home most days. Pop in to see the missus, have a quick bit of food and a shower, and then I'm straight back up to the gym. I've usually got another one-to-one client to teach before my classes start, and then I teach my classes, finish up around 9 p.m, and then obviously drive home, see the missus again for usually half an hour to an hour. We sit and have a bit of sofa time, catch up on each other's day, and then it's about time that I have to go to bed, mate, to be able to keep doing this. So I'm in bed early. So that's like a very typical day, mate. I'm so grateful, honestly. She's amazing. She handles it so well, because it's tough, and that's where past relationships have fallen apart, mate, due to the time restrictions and stuff like that. And almost like, as much as she is my priority, sometimes that means in the moment she can't be the priority, because I want to be able to provide for her. My ideal world should be a stay-at-home mum. Now she's got a very good job and she's really good at her career, and she brings home a lot of money. She does really well, but I'd love to be in a position where she doesn't have to do that.
I mean, you're doing it all for her and the baby that's coming.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So like momentarily my mind's on the fight, not as much of her being in the forefront of my mind and stuff like that, and taking time away from her so I can get extra training in and things like that. But she understands that, and she knows that I'm doing it for the end goal to want to provide for us as a family, and she's so understanding with that, and I'm forever grateful,
In terms of your training now, so do you have like a SNC coach that you do SNC with? Where do you do your stand-up? Was that your stand-up still at Powerhouse? So do you have any like assistant coaches that hold pass for you, or take some classes so they could take away a little bit of pressure from you? What does your training look like when you're deep in fight camp?
So deep in fight camp, I do SNC. I do that 3 times a week, 3 different sessions. Now they're not particularly long. I usually get them done in about half an hour.
Yeah, because you have the SNC downstairs.
Yeah, I do. And that's Ross McHale. He does all my programs for SNC. Right. Now he lives in Thailand currently, but he's really good. He's in constant contact with me. Yeah. I'll send him videos of the workouts. He'll correct me on form if it needs correcting, and he sends me a detailed program and he checks in with me regularly. He also does my nutrition as well, in terms of telling me what calories to eat, what macros, all that sort of stuff.
I mean, it makes things a little bit easier that you're pro, so you've done this for a long time as well, so it makes his job a little bit easier.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he doesn't have to babysit me as much as like the early days. Yeah, definitely not. But so that's the S&C side of things, and then I train martial arts pretty much every day. So a lot of days I'm training 2 times, an S&C session and a martial arts, so I'm doubling up on the martial arts. I train with my guys. You'll probably do similar. So we do a lot of Dutch drilling, some pad work, but a lot of the sessions are revolved around Dutch drills, just so it's almost got that sparring element to the drills. So I'll jump in with my lads and I train with them, but also recently for the last couple of fights now I've had Ryan Kennedy, who's got Full Force Gym in Leeds, I've been doing my pad work with him. I've had various padmen in the past and other coaches and stuff, but he's who I've currently chosen to be with.
I feel like you click with him a bit more.
We click really well, and he's not tried to change my style, which is what I really liked. I find, as much as I respect a lot of other coaches, I will do what they say during the session, but then stuff they've told me, I'm like, I get why it works, but it just doesn't work for me personally with the way that I like to fight. It means me changing my whole style, which is, as you know, is a lot of work.
Especially at this stage of your life.
Exactly, like I'm not going to become like a Thai style standing guy, do you know what I mean? I fight the way I fight. I generally travel, so my gym, Connor Halliday's gym, The Unit, and Ryan's gym, Full Force, we do a sparring day. We try to get it in once a month, and we just go between each of us gyms. So I try joining those sessions when I'm not hosting. When I'm hosting, I'll run the class, run the sparring session to keep sure it's got structure and stuff. But when it's at their gyms, I'll go on the mats with everybody else and I'll join in. Obviously at ASW we do a lot of sparring, so I get a lot of my rounds in over there, especially for the MMA.
You do a lot of live play type sparring.
Yeah, so there might be scenarios where it's like, right, you're going to spar with takedowns, like shoot boxing, or it's like, okay, when you're standing, there's no striking, but as soon as you clinch, you come dirty box, and then it's takedowns. So Cam structures the sessions phenomenally. Like I say, he's a really good coach, picked a lot of ideas up for him.
And I saw you train with Paul Dading.
Yeah, man.
Does he train out there now?
So obviously he's retired now, but Paul did his last fight camp there.
That must have been an awesome experience for you.
Mate, unbelievable. Like, obviously we've both seen Paul because he had fighters fighting on AFK back in the day, didn't he? So we'd see him in the changing rooms, but to actually be able to like rub shoulders with him on the mats and chat to him and pick his brains about things.
He's a top guy.
Yeah, and do you know what? I don't think he gets credit for how smart he is. He's such an astute martial artist, and he's like a student of the game. I think people see his fighting style and they just think, oh, he's just a brawler or whatever. But mate, the guy's so intelligent.
Do you feel like you've learned a lot from when you're training?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like little concepts, little things he'd say, and I'd be like, right, okay, yeah, take that on board. Just try and soak it in, just be a sponge around him, man, because the guy's been there and done it at the highest level. Yeah, so I've done quite a lot of pads with him in the past. Less so nowadays, just because of time constraints. I can't get over there as regularly as I'd like to. But yeah, he's come to my gym, which you came to the seminar. I'm hopefully getting him back in September as well, all being well, for his second go at our gym with a seminar. But obviously he's so inspirational. Like, everything he's achieved in Muay Thai is ridiculous, isn't it? His accolades are unbelievable, and to see him achieving everything he is currently is really good to see and very motivating as well. I think I had a few people, to be fair, for me it's more people who I'm training with.
Makes it more real, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I can kind of see the work they're putting in and I know how hard they're working, and then seeing them achieve things, that gives you an extra level of motivation as opposed to seeing somebody you have no contact with.
Yeah, it's almost like it's still out of touch, it doesn't feel real.
Yeah, exactly. So like when I was at AVT, to begin with, I had Jack Grant.
Yes.
Really good fighter, amazing jiu-jitsu practitioner as well. So he was on Cage Warriors back then, and this was when I was still training to fight, like my first amateur fight. So it's nice to see that I'm like at that level now that he was at back then. But seeing the work that he was putting in, the guy was never off the mats. He was training stupid hours a day, but always with a smile on his face, always laughing and joking. So it was great to be around him. And then we had other pros like Matt DeCasey came down for a little bit. I got to train with him for some of his fight camps for UFC, which was good to do. I'd say just that, not necessarily anybody in particular, but just seeing guys on their journey and then like seeing how hard they work, but then get the achievement at the end of it and just being like, wow, like he's worked so hard for that and he got it. He got the prize at the end. Do you know what I mean? And that
makes it a bit more realistic for you.
Yeah, definitely.
You do the same.
Exactly, mate. Especially when you're training with them, you're like, right, okay, so that's the standard. That's what I need to be achieving or even surpassing. So like, right, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna work at that because I've seen that it can pay off. The time it's not on my mind. It'd only be on my mind if I felt like I wasn't achieving the things that I need to do to get to where I want to go. Then it'd become more of a conversation that I'd be willing to have. But right now, mate, I feel my body's amazing. Like, I feel amazing. The training I'm doing, like, my body's robust. I'm not getting injured. I'm probably getting less injured now as I get older than what I was like 5 years ago. I got a few nasty injuries, to be fair.
Do you think it's why because you're training a lot more smarter now?
Definitely more smarter. I'd say my recovery is more of a priority than it ever used to be. I stretch more now than I ever used to do as well. So I think it's more on my mind. So I look after myself better than I used to do. And I probably do more S&C than I ever have before. And I really think that attributes to your joint health. And like the way I see it is like, obviously your body's your mechanism for how you're going to do the sport, and the more I do S&C, the more like robust I am. So it's like my suit of armour, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Kickboxing, obviously, because you're so seasoned, your stand-up is already taken care of. So it's not so much about learning new things now, it's about just being able to pull off the things that you could pull off. And if your body's in the right state, then you could do that. And that comes from just being super fit and just doing your S&C and putting the extra hours in. So do you do any sort of road work as well?
Yeah, so I just generally do one run a week.
Is that like a long, steady run?
No, that's like, so I just run 5k. I don't run any further than that for myself. I do a 5k. Out of camp, I'll just do it steady. Not bothered what time I get. Just nice and relaxed. And then as soon as I get fight camp, from around about the 8 to 6 week mark, I start doing the 5k with the intention of like, right, I'm going as fast as I can.
You did your last one in 18 minutes, I think.
Yeah, 18 minutes 30 seconds, I think it was.
That's
yeah,
fast.
yeah, man. I feel fast. I feel fit, and that's generally what I do every fight camp. Because I'll come in the first week, I do the run and try to go fast. I get around 20 minutes, and then each week I'm like, right, I'm going to beat that. I'm going to beat that today, and then that's my motivation. And then obviously you are getting fitter anyway, and then that for me is just like evidence there, so it increased my self-belief in my gas tank. I get less scared about gassing because I can see, right, over the last 4 weeks I've shaved X amount of time off my run. I know I'm fitter, I know I'm faster, and then by the time the fight comes around, however many weeks I've been doing the run, I'm like, if I just need to put the pace on somebody, I can do it from the first round to the last round if needs be.
And just see all this.
That's it. Yeah, it's just physical evidence. So then, like, I believe it because I've there and done it, and the evidence is in front of me. It's not like I'm guessing, I feel a bit fitter. It's like, no, you are. There's the evidence that you're fitter.
That's very important when you go into deep holes in a fight.
Yeah,
you know, you gotta dig deep because you start doubting yourself, don't you? Like some things that I tell my fighters all the time is, don't go in there expecting to not get tired. Because, you know, if you're training really hard, you might think, if you're not very experienced in terms of fighting, you might go in there and the first time it's like gasping for, you're like, oh shit, I'm not fit.
Yeah.
But you gotta like get your mind used to. Obviously, in a fight, it's like going fishing or like swimming, expecting not to get wet. You are gonna get tired, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's about knowing that, trusting your cardio, and like the paper evidence is so important for fighters, especially with the technologies that we have nowadays. When we first started training, it was very difficult to like get all these guys breaking down fights, having all these apps. So we were kind of lost. I used to get like K1 DVDs and try and study their combos, and that's how I learned most of the things that I learned.
Yeah.
But let's move on to like a typical fight day. So is there any sort of rituals? Are there any sort of rituals that you do to get yourself ready mentally? Or are there even any rituals that you do after you win in terms of your celebration and stuff?
So like typical fight day, I like to get food in me early because you'll know yourself, I don't really like feel hungry the later the day goes. I think that's obviously with the anxiety and the nerves and stuff kicking in, although it's subconscious. It still definitely affects how you feel, especially after weight cut, because I'll have eaten so much the night before to put the weight back on. So in the morning I'll have a reasonably heavy breakfast and then I go train the morning of the fight.
Oh, do you train?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I'll go train. I'll train for 45 minutes to an hour. It's more because of the weight cut, and if you think fight week, you taper off. So I might not have pushed the pace or done fight simulation for nearly a week by the time the fight comes round. So I'm like, I want to feel that feel, you know, before I'm warming up backstage.
Is that something you implemented yourself or something you learned?
Kind of spoke to Cam about it. When I went to ASW, I'd thought about the idea of doing it this way because I've seen some guys at a high level do it. And I thought, why the hell are they training on the morning of the fight?
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. As I remember speaking to Danny Mitchell about it, and he said, yeah, they call it a shakeout. We can try it out if you want. But then I didn't have another fight for a while. And then when I went to ASW, that was the next time I fought. So I said to Cam then, I says, I'd quite like to, you know, train on the morning. Is that cool? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I believe in that. Like, you should do that. So like, we were very much on the same page in terms of doing that. And so now that's become a staple now for me.
Was it just like almost like glove drills or pad work? Or
yeah, So I'll do a bit of pad work, a little bit of live situation stuff, or there might be something that I want to drill with Cam, or something Cam's seen about the guy that we've been working in fight camp, and it's like, right, let's get a few reps in on that. Because then what I find is, personally, if I do that on the morning of the fight, when we're warming up backstage, I'm not thinking, oh fuck, what's that drill again? Like, I've forgotten it. Do you know what I mean? And that's just before you're about to walk out, mate. If somebody calls a combination and you fluff it backstage, that's so damaging, I find, to your mental state. You think like, oh, I'm not very good, or maybe tonight's not going to be my night, and you're thinking that before you even walked out. So I like to do that in the morning, because I can make mistakes on the mat in the morning, but then when it comes to the warm-up in the evening, because I've just done it all that morning, it's fresh in my head. I warm up intense. I can be aggressive with my drills straight away, and I find that's what I need, because I want to go out there ready to hurt somebody. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to almost not be too concerned of tactics, because that's already drilled in from all the other weeks. Like, it's game day, like I need to come in ready to go. So yeah, I'll do that, go home, shower, have some more food, but something really light in the afternoon, something small, and then obviously I'll go to the venue, do all the medicals, whatever it needs doing, hands wrapping, and just have a little wander around the venue, because we normally get there before the fans get there. So I'll go have a little stroll about. If I can get in the cage, I'll get in the cage if they're letting us do that, and have a little move about, do a little bit of visualisation at that point, of like my walkout, which corner am I in, right, okay, which side of the cage am I going to go to, where do we walk out from? So then when I do it, I'm not stressed as much, because like I've just done it all already, like pre-rehearsal.
Seems familiar, not
yeah, definitely. So just that, just a bit of visualization, moving around in the cage, thinking of like where the fight's going, you know, a little bit. And I always visualize a little bit of adversity as well. Like, I don't go into the fight thinking like, yeah, I'm going to hit him with this and that, and like I'm going to dodge everything he throws. Like, I always think like, okay, like he's posed some problems, he's got the takedown, or he's clipped me with something, or he's got a good low kick, how am I going to deal with that? But then I picture myself getting myself out the hole, and then ultimately getting the finish or the win. So a bit of visualization, and then yeah, man, I like to warm up on the evening for, again, good half an hour, 45 minutes before we go out, because I'll start off with a little bit of shadow boxing, a little bit of stretching, bring in some pad work, bring in some drills with Cam, or like Charlie Dando and Oliver Tiro, two of my training partners. They'll sometimes come with us, so I can do some drills with them, because they're a similar weight to myself.
And are they usually the people in your corner?
Yeah, so I'll have Cam, Ryan, and then one of the lads from ASW will make up the third, and that's usually who I can do some warm-up drills with, and Cam kind of like oversees. Yeah, man, and do that before the ring walk. Yeah.
Nice. So after this fight in Rome, what are you hoping to do in terms of your fighting career? So do you want to like win a title on the Cage Warriors before you start looking into maybe like Bellator, One Championship, or the UFC, or is it just a case of just see what happens, just keep winning fights? Yeah,
man, I think I should be knocking on the door for title contention, definitely. Like, I've been up and trained with George, who's the current champion, but he's just contender series, and he should be getting signed to UFC off the back of that. So the title will be vacant, and like I've said yeah to every fight that's been thrown my way on Cage Warriors. Within about 30 seconds of them sending it, me and Cam have said like, yeah, let's do it. We've not been like, oh, we don't know, yeah, we need more time, or can we have this opponent, can we have that opponent? I've just said yeah to what they've said.
You're ready to take on everybody, doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, the way I see it is I want to be in the UFC. You're not going to get to cherry pick your opponents when you're there. And even at Cage Warriors level, like, if you believe you're the best, then it shouldn't matter whose name's on the other side of the sheet. The sheet should just get signed, and let's do the fight, and let's see. Let's see how good I am, and let's see how good this opponent is. Do you know what I mean?
At this level that you're fighting at, everybody's good anyways.
Exactly, mate. That's what I say to the lads all the time in the gym when they're like, oh, what do you think about so-and-so? And I'm like, or they'll say somebody's like an easy fight or an easier fight, and I'm like, mate, nobody's easy at this level. I says, everybody's training like I'm training. Do you know what I mean? Everybody's a dog. Everybody wants it.
Everybody has the same dreams.
Exactly,
everybody's
mate.
Hungry.
They're all dangerous, but it's just being the guy on the night and rising to the occasion and just putting in a little bit more work potentially than what they are, you know, and been a little bit more confident and producing the goods on the night. So yeah, I think a win over this guy. 6-0, 5 finishes, really popular on the Italian scene. You know, I'm coming off a win against a guy in his back garden in Belfast who's an astute kickboxer background. Said he was saying all the hype before and that he was going to be the better striker. Finished him, And then I fought Capera, who was probably the best grappler in the division.
Wow.
Really good judoka, good Brazilian jiu-jitsu, good wrestling, very strong build, durable guy. He's fought on some like hardcore promotions like ACB, I think it's ACA now, but the Russian promotion. He's had a lot of fights on there and stuff. So a seasoned vet who knows how to win a fight and grind a win out. And he's probably like on paper my kryptonite because he's so good at grappling. Do you know what I mean? And just like I don't like to say boring, but a stalling style where he's going to take you down and just keep you there. Yeah. He's not necessarily going to look to finish you every time. So that's almost like my worst case scenario. Finished him, dealt with that. So now I'm fighting another good kickboxer with a great record, good finishing ability, and I feel like if I go in there and beat this kid, then like who else is there other than giving me a title shot?
It must be great for you knowing that you find someone who's willing to stand up and trade with you.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited for it. I think it's going to be a great fight for the fans, definitely, because he's going to back himself and he's going to want to stand with me. But I just generally think, like everybody else, mate, he'll regret that decision pretty quickly.
How do you feel about going over to his home backyard and?
Yeah, man.
Is that like a sense of excitement?
Yeah, mate, I love it. I love being the away fighter, weirdly, because, mate, when I'm the home fighter, we take a good crowd to home matches, but also away days, I always take a good few people with me. Even to Belfast, might have had like 30 people, 25 people over in Belfast, which was good for the size of the arena and everything. As an away guy.
After party.
Yeah, exactly, mate, yeah. And I think I've probably got similar numbers going again to Rome with me. But mate, I love it. I always feel like less pressure when I'm the away guy, because it's like he's the hometown boy. He's got the pressure on him to perform in front of his fans. He's
probably like you're the villain. And
yeah, it is, mate, and it sounds like speaking to some of the lads, like they're like, "Oh, what about when everyone's booing and stuff?" I'm like, mate, that doesn't bother me at all. Like the way I see it, they're just invested in the fight. So there's more eyes on it. If they're all booing me, it's sound. At least they're watching.
It's alright, isn't it? It doesn't matter which crowd it comes from.
Yeah, mate, I'd rather be in an arena full of boos than to be like tumbleweeds during my fight, because then I know like it's not entertaining. Do you know what I mean?
So, is there any opponent that you want to fight in terms of like a dream matchup just locally, or you not bothered, you just want to run through everybody?
Locally, nobody really like that I'm bothered about matching up with. I'd say like obviously I'd like to get to UFC and be fighting some of their top guys. I think like some like dream matchups might be somebody like Drew Dober. Okay. He's somebody that I really like to fight because again, more stand up, but he's got a good wrestling base as well. But I think like we'd be the type to sell some tickets and
make it a bloody wolf.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the guy's got a granite chin, and he's a dog. Do you know what I mean? And I think these are the type of fights that I can provide at that level as well, where I can have exciting fights with these high level guys, and it's going to be bums on seats moment. You know.
I think you've gone to the stage now where, again, what we said previously, you don't really worry about what opponent you take. It's almost like other people gotta start worrying about you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I find James. So I gotta prepare differently because you've gone past that stage. Obviously 20 finishes is just crazy. It's insane. And I'll be very surprised if you don't finish your next opponent. I'm just adding a bit more pressure at the end, just so we're not just talking about fighting the whole time. So it's almost like a quick fire question, but it's not quick because I wanted to elaborate a little bit on it.
Okay, yeah.
Because it'll make it interesting. Sick. So the first one I ask everybody is there any celebrity you'd like to punch in the face?
Oh, wow, what a question.
This gotta be like a few, right?
Well, do you know what? Yeah, I know exactly what I'm going to say to this. I'm a missus will laugh her head off. Yeah, Harry Styles.
Poor Harry.
Yeah, Harry's getting it.
Would do like a hiking or something?
Yeah, it'd have to be a punch. I think it'd be satisfying, mate. Yeah, she's a big fan. Yeah. Bit of jealousy kicking in, I think.
I can see it in your eyes. Is there any celebrities you'd want to go to dinner with? I won't say date because she might get pissed off.
Oh yeah, she would get pissed off at that. Yeah. Go to dinner with any celebrities. Oh, again, that's a tough one. That is a tough one.
Dead or alive, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, dead or alive. Do you know what? I'm going to say Elvis Presley, dead or alive. Have you seen his movie?
I haven't. I wanted to watch it.
Mate, it's class. He's had a mad life, that guy. Yeah, I'd love to like pick his brains and stuff and just even talk about some stories. I think it'd be cool.
He's the actor that's playing him is really good as well.
Yeah, he does a really good job, man. It's a sick film.
I'm gonna check that out for sure.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Without saying any fighters, so let's stay away from the fighting. Who's your favorite athlete of all time?
Athlete of all time. Wow, that's tough.
I mean, if it's a fighter, then you could say a fighter.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. I've got interests outside of fighting in terms of sports. I'd say of all time, it's probably got to be Jordan. Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm a big basketball fan. I like watching the American sports.
You obviously watched his documentary.
Yeah, his documentary's unreal.
Mentality is crazy.
Yeah, it is. And listen to the books by his coach, Winning, and I can't remember the name of the other book, but listening to those and hearing about his mentality and his journey and his ethic towards training and the sport in general. Yeah, it is phenomenal.
Super obsessed, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
Favorite animal?
I'd be a dog.
I was gonna say.
Absolutely.
I was gonna say. I could have guessed that.
Yeah.
Favorite food to eat? Before, let's make it a bit more interesting. Favorite food to eat after your fights?
After a fight, wow, probably a pizza.
Okay.
Probably pizza, mate. Yeah.
What kind?
Do you know what? Just a margarita done well, just cheese and
That's
tomato.
the best, you know.
Mate, they can be the best. Like I prefer thin crust Italian style pizzas, so Rome's perfect.
Go on.
Beat this kid and then get a celebratory pizza after, definitely.
Yeah, mate. Favorite place to visit, or favorite place that you haven't been that you would like to visit?
Oh, that's easy. I really want to go to Japan.
Ooh, that's on my list.
Yeah, I've never been. I think for us to get there, it's reasonably expensive, so it's definitely a bucket list thing down the line. But yeah, I'd love to go there. It looks amazing.
Okay, so kickboxing or MMA?
I have to say MMA now. Yeah, it used to always be kickboxing, but yeah, MMA these days definitely.
Now you're an MMA fighter. You're not kickboxing.
That's it.
Favorite movie of all time?
Oh, that's tough as well, isn't it? Favorite movie of all time. Do you know what I'm gonna say? Troy.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
I saw that recently.
Epic movie.
Epic.
Yeah. That's a pre-fight ritual as well, by the way. It used to be, less so these days. But I used to watch that every night before the fight.
Especially that first scene gasses you up.
Yeah, it used to get me like in the right headspace, definitely.
Yeah, nice, good choice. What's your favorite technique?
Favorite technique? High kick.
High kick.
Yeah.
The left high kick.
Yeah, left high kick for me.
Favorite sport outside of kickboxing?
I was going to say basketball because we like it, but actually me and the missus, we started going watching the Leeds Knights because it's not far for us to travel. Ice hockey.
Nice. Mate,
we love it. It's sick. I don't actually follow it in terms of like the Americans, the NHL, but locally, like we go to a lot of the Leeds games, and they won their league last year, and it were amazing, mate.
I have to check them out. Okay, 2 more from me. So, what's your favorite thing about being a coach?
I'd say like definitely my favourite thing. It's more with the juniors than anybody else, but like giving them self-belief or helping them get self-belief, because it was something that I struggled with at the start. So I know what they're going through. And I feel like I'm out the other side, although it's a constant battle, mate. Like you've got to constantly like be doing the correct things to make you feel that way. But I think helping somebody on that journey to have self-confidence and be confident in their own skin and confident in themselves, it's an amazing thing to see happen, especially if they're coming and they're very inward or very self-doubting or self-critical. To see that flip in them is so rewarding, and to be a part of that for them.
You see the direct effect of all the hard work you put in. So
yeah, man,
that's great. And I think ultimately that's what martial arts is about, anyways.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I said 2 more, but I have 2 more because we brought back to fighting now. So tell me your favorite thing about being a fighter.
Well, I'd say like I genuinely really enjoy fighting. Like I enjoy having a scrap.
That's always a bonus.
Yeah, like more so now than ever. I think along the way I started to care less about potentially losing. Like I don't care. Like I could lose this next fight, and yeah, I'd be pissed off. But as long as I went in there and I had a tear up, I would be happy. After a week or so of sulking, I'd be happy.
Nice. The last one from me, and it's going to sound very generic, but I think it'll be good for people to hear. If you had to give any sort of advice or pointers to anybody that wants to get into martial arts or want to be a fighter, what would be the advice?
So for anybody looking to get into it, would be find a good gym that has a a genuinely good coach, which is hard to do for your first gym because you don't know what that necessarily entails. So yeah, doing your research and finding out the gym, who's fighting out at the gym, who else have they coached down the line, who's done something good in the sport, and things like that, to evaluate the level of coaching you're going to receive, because that's ultimately going to have a massive impact on how far you can get with the sport, if you are wanting to progress into fighting. So that, and then 2 is more on yourself. Be consistent. Like, if you're not going to come, like, get lads sometimes wanting to fight or do interclubs, but they can't even come training twice a week. And I'm like, how do you expect to come training once a week, not even spar, and then do an interclub? Do you know, it's impossible, let alone do a fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, you need to be so committed, even at an amateur level. Like, I'd say for amateur kickboxing, if you're not hitting training 4 times a week, so 4 out of 7 days, you're not gonna be able to do it, or you can do it, but you're probably gonna get chinned. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna do well. So it's been real with yourself. Like, if you want to fight and that's your goal for training, then be prepared to have very few friends. Your friends are going to be the guys in the gym, because that's going to be the time that you socialise. You ain't got time to finish the gym, go to the pub, or finish the gym, go for this day out. It's not possible. Like, it has to take priority to do it at a good level. So you've got to be prepared for that, to be consistent, and not make excuses. Mate, I could always say this to the lads all the time. I could find 1,000 reasons why I can't go training on a morning or on an evening. Other things I could put priority above, but you've got to make it a non-negotiable. So training for me is non-negotiable. All my sessions are planned the week I go into training. So I've already organised my week, what sessions I've got. And other things might pop up where a lot of people would be like, oh, well, I can't go train, I've got to go do this. And as selfish as it is, I'd be like, no, I can't do that because I've got training. And that's what you've got to be prepared to do. And I think, so good gym, good coach, and then consistency, and willing to put your training above other things that people might say you shouldn't do. But if you want to be good, that's what you're going to have to do.
But James, as I said previously, man, I'm super fucking glad that you came, and I'm super happy that you're doing so well, and I have nothing but belief. And all my guys, every time you fight, we always tune in, and we're always going to keep rooting for you, and we're going to be tuning into the Italy one as well. And good luck with that. So again, thank you so much for coming. And if ever you want to come back and you want to talk about anything, or you just bored and you want to have a chat, the door's always open for you, man. I appreciate it.
Quality, mate. Thank you so much.
Man.
Awesome.
Appreciate that, bro. That was awesome.
Thank you.